Hello and welcome to MBR's Top Tech for February. And it's been a crazy month for the bike industry with loads and loads of new things happening. And I've been joined on the sofas today by Danny, the editor of MBR. And we're going to turn it into a bit more of a boys' club, really, isn't it, in terms of this?
With these chairs, it's like a gentleman's club, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what sort of gentleman's clubs that you frequent, but yeah. So I'm just waiting for the brandy, really.
Well, I think Jeeves is bringing them around soon, so
Okay.
We'll be doing that. But you've been out and about quite a bit this month, haven't you, with all the new tech that's happening out?
Yeah, so I went to the Canyon Strive launch in Spain, sunny Spain, a couple of weeks ago, and that's the second version of the Strive, the Strive 2.0, with a redesigned shapeshifter system. And I was riding out there with Fabian Burrell, like two-time world champion.
Yeah.
And he's obviously likes to get geeky with his bike setup and testing and development. And the Strive is obviously going to be what the Canyon Enduro team are going to be racing at the EWS next year. So I've actually done a full video on that new bike. So if you want to watch that and find out a lot more about that new bike. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Lots of interesting stuff to play with on that, and check it out.
And hopefully that shapeshifter is going to work a little bit better this time.
Yeah, they've definitely done a lot of work on sort of durability and reliability on that. So yeah, fingers crossed, it should be a lot better. So.
Excellent.
And you, I know you've been out and about and riding with some celebrities that have been in the news this last week or so.
Absolutely. So last week, riding with the Athertons up in Wales, like trying out some of their new trails.
Were you riding with them, or were they waiting for you?
I was riding with them at the start, and then obviously they were off and sort of riding, but they weren't riding the new bikes. But that is the big news at the moment, isn't it?
That is big news.
Is Atherton bikes.
It's definitely a really interesting development, I think. Lots and lots of questions it raises. I mean, I think first of all, it's really exciting because no one's really done this before, and I say that people have. Tomac did it, I guess, years ago and stuff like that. But this is the first time in recent history that it's been done, and it's a big gamble, and it's a super high tech product that they're using, isn't it? Because it's the technology that was used by the old Robot Bike Co.
Yeah, so it's like sort of 3D printed
but they
lugs.
Don't call it 3D printing,
sorry,
no, you get
slap
wrists if you call it that. It's additive manufacturing.
Additive manufacturing. So
geeky terminology for it. But yes, you're basically right. Everyone knows it's 3D printing, don't they? So and then it's titanium lugs, which are additive manufactured, and then these are used with standard carbon round tubes, which are then cut and then bonded into the lugs. And the big USP for Robot Bike Co was that it allowed you to customize the geometry of your bike, wasn't it? Which is something that most brands can't do with carbon manufacturing because the molds are so expensive, aren't they, to make. So this was their USP. You could type in your kind of vital statistics on the website, and then it would come up with your perfect suspension bike. And then you could also tweak the numbers if you liked a super slack head angle or a really steep seat angle or whatever the kind of contemporary numbers or that you wanted to play with. So it was a really versatile and unique proposition for people. But how this is going to translate into the Atherton Bikes brand is really interesting, and so far I haven't really seen this question being answered anywhere.
No, because they're talking about, obviously, at the moment for 2019, they're going to be racing on prototype 29er downhill bikes. Then potentially there's going to be enduro bikes, and I think they talked about sort of anything up to kids' bikes, really, wasn't it?
Kids' bikes, as you said, e-bikes. I mean, I guess you start a new bike business, the world is your oyster, really, isn't it? But aside from all the kind of options that are available to them, really, if they want a viable business, they need a good trail bike, trail/enduro bike, because that's where the market is. That's what people buy. You can have a DH bike, but it's such a tiny portion of sales. It's not going to be a viable business really for something like the Athertons. I mean, okay if you're a very small company with a few employees, but this is not. I mean, I can't imagine this is what they're aiming at. They've got a backing of a former Dragon, haven't they?
Yeah, Piers Linney, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't back things just because he fancies a free bike. You know, the
although
guy's,
he is a keen mountain biker,
super
isn't he?
into
So
mountain biking, but he's invested in things because he thinks there's going to be some return. So this is not like a tin shed engineering. This is going to be a big business hopefully for them. But Robot Bike Co went into liquidation, didn't they?
Yes.
So that doesn't, to me, suggest that was a successful business.
No.
If I speculate further, it may be because they didn't sell enough bikes. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all they sold.
I think that was the problem, wasn't it? Yeah.
It has to be at the end of the day. They
these
didn't
were
sell enough
bikes. It was £4,500
for a frame
for
set.
a frame. Yeah.
For a frame set, talking. That's huge money.
Yeah.
So, for the Afton's business model to work with this new bike brand, they have to sell bikes. They have to sell volume. So how is this going to work with what was a very, very high-end premium product that obviously didn't sell enough? So what are they going to do? Are they going to be able to reduce the price? I don't know. They're going to increase the volume? I don't know. I mean, the titanium lugs were 48 hours.
That's right,
for
a bike, a single bike, wasn't it? So would you say it's 150 bikes per year if it was working 24 hours a day?
Yeah, roughly, isn't it?
So
I don't think that's a really indicative of a viable business for a big company or kind of where they're aiming for. I don't think so. I think it's going to be really interesting and fascinating to find out more about what they're actually planning to do, how they're going to make it work. And I think the sort of the racing aspect of it is really an aside. It's kind of like, they'll race the bikes. On Killer Form last year, Rachel's demolishing everyone still. It's almost like the bikes that they're racing on are irrelevant. It's what they do to reach the consumer and attract that market share. That's going to be really interesting to watch.
Keeping it on a downhill tip, as the kids say these days. Aaron Gwynn, he's on Intense.
Yep.
He's finally made that move from YT.
He was on a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, no one knows exactly how much, but it was probably the biggest figure in downhill mountain biking. And, that's hard for a company like YT probably to afford to carry on with. And he's now the owner, rider of Intense Racing, which is interesting. And again, that's you kind of wonder, okay, what's the deal there? Was he given the team in lieu of like a huge salary, or did he invest? Is he getting paid a huge salary and he gets the team? You don't know, but no. It's a completely different proposition to what it was before. So. And at the exact same time, Intense have announced that they've got a whole load of extra financial backing from various people, including
Ryan Dungey, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of motorbike background people backing this now, so they kind of want it to work. But obviously they've got the new bike as well, the M29, so it's the 29 downhill bike, which is at the centre of all this, and it looks really, really good. Yeah,
I mean, Intense have really evolved, transformed even over the last couple of years, going from a sold through dealer brand traditional sales model to a consumer direct, and completely sort of updating their range. And now they've got this whole, probably the most marketable man in downhill now fronting their team. So it's they're obviously going places, and again, it's going to be another one to exciting to watch them develop. There's
himself, there's Nico Mullally, who's brought over from YT, and there's also Jack Moir as well, who was on Intense before, isn't it?
Again, and he was killing it a couple of seasons ago, wasn't he? Just on fire. So it'd be good to see him back and hopefully doing well as well. So they could have a really strong team there. So again, it'd be interesting to see that. But obviously they want to shift bikes. I mean, none of this is worth anything to them unless they shift bikes. So it's the whole race on Sunday, sell on Monday thing, isn't it?
I think that's really one of their things that they sort of talked about, is actually that's all well and good, but again, it's about having those decent trail bikes, and that's what Intense are looking to have at the moment.
Hey, worked for them. when Palmer rode for them, didn't it? So why not again?
So it's a little bit about intense, and now with Aaron Gwynn involved, it should be sort of pretty exciting for them for 2019.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, bringing it back down to the UK, Pace Cycles have just announced a new bike as well, haven't they?
That's right. Yeah.
That's the RC295, and this is pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's early days with the information on this. I think there's as much info as there is about what's going to happen after Brexit in the press release. But, but the details are it's a 130 travel 29er.
135 mil at the back.
Right,
yeah.
150 fork, something like that.
Yeah, 130 to 150 they say it can work with.
Yeah, that's right. So Pace had a couple of full suspension bikes roughly 10 years or so ago.
Yep.
And they used a twin link design, which is not unlike a DW Link, but not the same.
Very, very different, but very alike.
We don't want to get the lawyers involved there. And it was one of the ways it was different was that it compressed the shock at both ends. So there was a kind of an extension on the lower link that then moved compressor shock. Yeah, as I say, at both ends. So you could manipulate the rate a little bit more with it. And that has been carried through to the new bike, you can see. And it's full carbon, front triangle, rear triangle.
Yeah, let's just stop there a second. This is like Pace, who are renowned for aluminium and then lately steel. Yep. I don't think they've done like a proper full carbon bike before, have they?
No, I think they had a carbon seat tube on a hardtail a while ago.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's about it. But you know, this is the biggest news, isn't it? Really,
this is a big step.
Yeah.
And you know, Adrian Carter's the man behind it. He was the brains behind the old RC100 with Duncan MacDonald, and then Duncan's Purple Descender. If that's really going back in time, but that won best in show at the Malverns last year. There we go. So it's coming back.
So it's still there's still a couple of them out there.
They were groundbreaking bikes
absolutely.
At their time, and Adrian's an incredibly smart guy and has designed some amazing bikes. And this is going to be a way more contemporary trail bike. That's pretty much all we know at the moment. We don't really know prices. We don't really know.
No, don't know prices. Head angle, they said it's about a 64.5-degree head angle.
Yeah, so it sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good for a trail bike, for sure.
Hopefully.
And it's going to be subject to change. I think they're working on different layups at the moment to try and get the feel of the frame correct. But it's really exciting to see another UK bike brand coming back with a full suspension bike frame, whatever it's going to end up being. Presuming they're made in Asia, they haven't said this, but they're made in the UK.
As I said, we can speculate all we want really on this, isn't it? But
I think they'd probably say if they were made in the UK. But either way, it's really good to see them coming back. Yes. And it's now like a pretty long list of bike brands in the UK that have got new kind of exciting bikes on the market. So.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
No, we're looking
we won't be able to afford anything from anywhere outside of the UK soon. So.
No. Well, but then that's great. If we can actually sort of build on this, then happy days. Yeah. Well, talking about bikes from outside of the UK, though, we do have to talk about the bikes that we have here behind us, don't we, really? So this is obviously Specialized Stumpjumper Evo, isn't it? And we have the standard stock version here, and this one on just behind you is a bit special, isn't it? And why is that special?
So this one is the frame only, and I got this from the States, and you can't get the black ones in the UK, of course, sorry. Yeah. But basically the frames are identical, apart from the shock being a factory version, but that's neither here nor there really. So what I wanted to do, I rode the stock Stumpjumper Evo at the launch last year, and then subsequently over here in the UK quite a bit. And I loved it in certain situations and was less enamoured with it in other situations. It was not a one-trick pony, but it felt like quite often it felt like too much of a bike.
Okay. So
I don't know whether you felt the same because you've ridden it as well.
I've ridden it quite a bit as well. It's an excitingly fun bike to ride down the hills. But there is a few bits about it that sort of make it sort of not the most engaging of bikes to have as your own bike, is it?
That's
right. Now you have your own bike.
Yeah. So I thought it kind of lacked a little bit of versatility. Mostly for me, though, the stock bike is really quite heavy, so it's knocking on 34 pounds, I think, with pedals.
I think that's the biggest gripe, isn't it? Really, you know, you feel that bike.
You do. It's in the extremities. It's in the wheels. It's in the cassette. It's in the dropper post, and kind of all these things mean that it's kind of less agile than maybe I'd hope. So what I wanted to do was kind of try and see whether I could improve on that and make it a little bit more rounded. So I'll say now it's not an affordable build on this one particularly.
So you have cherry picked some very nice bits on it, haven't you? Really?
Yeah. So carbon wheels. It's got the new Raval wheels.
So they're specialised own brand, really, aren't they?
Yeah. Wheels. So they're a lot lighter. There's X1 Eagle drivetrain, which
and you chose the gold version as well, didn't you?
It's all I had.
Yeah. It's all you had.
It's all I had, which is a lot lighter than the NX Eagle cassette on the back of that, which I think is
I think the
over
entire
600 grams.
drivetrain on your bike probably weighs about the same as the cassette. So
it might well be.
Yeah.
So instantly you're helping the unsprung weight there and the ability of the suspension to move out of the way of bumps, and instantly you've got a more supple suspension there.
This is probably the thing that a lot of riders don't really think about, is it? So you buy a bike and you kind of run it as stock, but you don't realise that, you know, just by changing things like a cassette, which obviously when you wear a cassette out, you would just put on the same one again. But if you did go for something a bit lighter, you can actually change the way the bike rides.
Yep, totally. The problem with the NX cassette is you're kind of a little bit tied into it in some ways, because it uses a kind of splined driver body, not an XD
style driver body, isn't it?
So you have to get a new driver body if you want to upgrade to a lighter SRAM Eagle cassette. So it's not that cheap to do, but you know, that's 600 grams on the back. You can definitely feel it, and you add that into heavy tires, heavy hubs, heavyish kind of rims, and it really does kind of change the agility of the bike. And so this is kind of quite different in that respect. But some of the other things that are different are, I've got a shorter offset fork, so that's a 42 offset, and that's a 44 on the stock one, so it's very slightly different. But I've gone for a much shorter stem as well. I've got a 30mm stem on there.
That's super short, isn't it? Yeah.
With 780 bars instead of 800 bars. And that definitely helps with the agility as well, I think, and just the kind of the whole, just feeling like you're a little bit at your limits. You know, 780 it just means you can fit through a few more things, but also with the shorter stem, you don't need as much leverage, I don't think. The shorter offset, I don't think you need as much leverage. So that's you know, the whole thing seems to work
those are all
better
things
for
to consider,
me.
aren't they? Yeah.
I fitted guide brakes instead of code brakes. Controversial maybe, but hey, I'm not in the Alps. 180,
no, we're not in the Alps around here, are we?
The Alps. 180 rotors, you know, all these things just to maybe make it a little bit more trail than bike park or enduro or whatever.
You've got mismatched suspension, I noticed as well. So you've got rock shocks on the front, Fox on the back.
That'll be making a lot of people with OCD squirm.
Sorry, people, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it just came with that shock on. So that's why. I mean, I'd be quite interested to try like a Super Deluxe on there or something, see what it's like. But got no issues with that DPX2.
Tyres as well, you've obviously sort of like made a big choice in terms of your tyres. Gone for our old favourites, the Minions.
Minion DHRs on there. Yeah, I'm afraid to say the butchers on the stock bike are just really bad in the wet. Like the rubber compound just does not grip in the wet. So they were first things to come off really. And so these are, I think, a bit lighter as well, save a bit of weight. So I think the stock bike ships with tubes as well, so you have to convert to tubeless.
I've converted it to tubeless now.
So there's another weight saving to be had there. But so basically, I managed to get it down to just under 30 pounds, like 29.8 pounds or something with pedals versus like 34. But so it's a dramatic difference.
There's a big difference there, isn't it? But we won't talk about the additional costs involved with that as well. So
it was it was certainly not £4 difference.
No. But again, like you know, you can sort of see that if you do it, the frame itself is a really, really good frame.
Frame is amazing. So
upgrade.
This could be another whole video just to discuss. But you just think, why are specialised EWS racers not on this bike. I mean, it seems crazy that they're on the regular Stumpjumper because the geometry on that is really conservative, that they're not on something like this, which actually would measure up to something like the Hill's bike or Richie Rude's bike. The angles and geometry and the sizing is incredibly similar to the SB 150 on this bike. Sure, that bike has a little bit more, 10 mil more travel at the back, but really they're so similar. I mean, you look at the 3 bikes that won last year, the EWS, it was Hill on the Mega 275, it was Richie Rude on the SB 150, and it was Martin Mays on the GT Force. And in fact, going to be shooting a video on those, the Nuke Proof and the GT this week on a head-to-head test on those bikes. So look out for that. That should be exciting
as well, yeah.
But those 3 bikes are not in the same geometry bracket as the standard Stumpjumper. So I don't know. Anyway, that's up to them.
There we go. I was going to say, it's not for us to actually answer on that one, but as I said,
maybe you guys have an idea why they're on it. But
yeah, definitely.
We're flummoxed.
That brings us on to the final thing we'll look at today. We've got a bit of a head-to-head in terms of helmets here, haven't we? So we've both been testing out some of the latest enduro-style downhill race helmets. You've got the
Troy Lee Stage,
and I've got Leat's new DBX 4.0 19.1.
That's catchy.
It is catchy, isn't it? Yeah. We'll call it DBX 4.0, I think is probably the best on there.
There's quite a few of these new enduro lids, shall we call them, out there. They're lightweight and much more breathable than a regular full face helmet, so that you can use them on enduro stages, you can use them in a bike park, you can just even trail ride them in them if you want, or ride them in the Alps or whatever, but you're not going to be just choking for lack of oxygen when you're riding them. Troy Lee have opted for this one with a non-removable chin guard, and I think it's super comfortable. It's got the MIPS in there. They made adjustment accommodated for that with the internal sizing. You don't need to kind of cinch up the retention device to keep it stable. It does a really good job with the actual cheek pads to keep it stable, and lets in a heck of a lot of air. You've got really good vision as well, and it's got the little magnetic chin strap as well, which is pretty cool. So it's really easy to do that up. It looks fantastic, as everything does with Troy Lee. Little bit worried about the durability of the EPS inside, because it's not fully wrapped.
Okay, it's not in moulded style,
this
is it?
Bit around the front here, underside. I mean, this tends to get knocked quite a lot, and it's quite vulnerable, and that's just not bottom wrapped there. So, got to worry a little bit for the durability of it.
Yeah.
275 quid as well at retail. So.
It's quite substantial, isn't it?
Quite hefty, especially as if I was to probably put it up against the Pro frame in terms of breathability, I don't think it offers much more. And they're both DH certified, so you want the Troy Lee brand. You've got the looks. It looks amazing. So that's you've got to pay a little bit of a premium for that, it seems. But in terms of function, I'm not sure sort of how different they are.
The one thing it's got that the others, the Pro frame and my one here doesn't have, is you've got an adjustable visor on there, which I think is a big thing, isn't it? So if you wear goggles, you can put the goggles in there, over the top. And
park your goggles.
You can park your goggles, yes, and you can move it out your vision as well if you want to. So that is kind of like one thing for it, but whether it's worth that extra money, because mine, this one, 169.
Well,
so
a lot more
big chunk difference. Again, DH certified as well. This is super comfy. That's the one thing I've noticed wearing this one compared to, I've not worn the stages yet, but I've worn like the Pro frame quite a bit. This is just a helmet I could wear all day. It's very comfy. It hasn't got MIPS. It has their own system, which is called the 360-degree turbine technology. So it's like these little blue dials, or these little rubber bits here, which work in effectively a similar way to MIPS. You can pull all the cheek pads out, so you can get different sizes on here as well. So it's been super solid. I've hit a couple of trees as well recently, One time with the Aftons last week, I will have to admit, I did hit a tree quite badly, and I was really glad I had this on, and it stayed in place and protected my face really from that. It doesn't have the adjustable peak. This did pop off though, so it does actually pop out. So there's like little poppers on there. Yeah. It doesn't take a lot of force to knock that out of the way. So if you do have a crash, you won't sort of dig in and that, which is obviously something really that's quite important. But you can see it when you're riding. Right. There's a little bit there in your vision on there. But it's got a lot of ventilation, so like the others. And one thing I did notice with this is even better than the Pro Frame, this is almost a bigger area. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have any problems with breathing, right, which is nice.
Always comes in handy.
Always comes in handy. And as I said, if you don't like that colour, there's loads of other colours as well, but similar to yours. Probably the biggest difference though, and I think this is why there's a bit of difference in terms of price, that's about 870 grams. Right. So it's not as light, but it's still light for a full face.
Yeah, I like these style of helmet. I think they're good. But I would sort of, if I was a consumer, I would maybe question whether it's worth getting these over a convertible helmet though, because effectively a convertible helmet, you're getting two helmets in one, aren't you? With one of these, you're still going to need probably a trail helmet as well. Yeah. So these are kind of a second helmet, which is great if you're in the market for one. But
and if you've got space as well, because that's if you're traveling.
Exactly. Yeah. But then the convertible helmet, you can have your cake and eat it sort of thing.
You can.
They're pretty cool as well. I think that's for most consumers, maybe that's a more useful product perhaps.
I think that's where Leat probably have the edge over Troy Lee, is they do actually do a convertible version, which is fairly similar to that helmet there. Right. Whereas obviously Troy Lee haven't got that just yet, have they?
No, not yet. It's be interesting to see whether they do something. Because, it seems to make sense to me.
So there you have it. That's a huge amount of technology for February, from the enduro helmets to the news of the new Afon Bikes. If you've got any products that you'd like to see us feature and talk about in the future, please put it in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe these videos to keep up with our latest releases. Hello and welcome to MBR's Tech of the Month. No, it's not Tech of the Month, is it? Top Tech. Yeah, Tech of the Month is trademarked by Cycling Weekly, so we cannot use that. Yep. So tell us a bit about your helmet.
Well,
sorry.
Right, Beavis.
Well, there you have it. That's a lot of. Sorry, just like full yawn going on.